Okay, I have no idea what I'm doing today, but I want to match my nails. Look. Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Crue Trime. Crue Trime. Do we still like this intro? If you are new here, hello. If you're not, welcome back. My name is Sarah, and what I do here is tell you a terrible story to ruin your day and put on my makeup while I do it. So if that sounds like a fun combination to you, you're in the right place. So make sure you subscribe to this channel, hit the bell notification, and then that way you'll never miss one of my terrible stories. If you're into the makeup portion of my strange storytelling videos here, then just look down in the description box to see what it is that I'm actually using. Everything is linked just for you. This is the story of Sheila Warren. It was a beautiful Saturday morning on May 26th, 1990, when a white Chrysler LeBaron pulled up in the driveway of the Warren family home in the Aero Club subdivision of Wellington, Florida. Nicknamed the Wellington Bubble, it's about an hour north of Miami, Florida, west of West Palm. It's an extremely affluent area where many residents own horses. Many. And some even have their own airplane hangars. It's considered, rich, safe, peaceful. On that morning, 40-year-old Marlene Warren was at home with her 21-year-old son Joey and a couple of his friends. Her husband, 38-year-old Michael, had gone to a racetrack in Miami that day. But at 10:30 a.m., there was a knock at the door. And as Marlene went to answer it, Joey looked out the window and saw a clown walking up the sidewalk. Okay, the clown was obviously a person in a clown suit. Full white face, clown makeup, big red nose, the big curly wig, orange hair.
Instantly, I was like, yeah, no.
Me too, Justin. Me too. And they were carrying flowers and balloons. So, okay, some kind of delivery service, that tracks. Joey heard his mom say, "Oh, how pretty." And then he heard what he described as a loud crack or pop sound, and he thought it just was one of the balloons popping. As he ran over to the door, he saw his mother collapsing in the open doorway. He made quick eye contact with the clown before they calmly strolled back to their LeBaron that was running in the driveway with the door open.
Oh yeah, I only see one LeBaron, Freddie. I only see one. I don't see two LeBarons.
Gordy.
The small basket of flowers had tumbled onto the floor next to Marlene, and the Mylar balloons slowly drifted into the living room. One of the Mylar balloons had a picture of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs on it, and the other one was in the shape of a red heart. I mean, it was red in the shape of a heart. And it said in script, "You're the greatest." Marlene had been shot in the face and was horribly injured. That loud crack was a gunshot. Obviously. One of their neighbors, Bill Kramer, was out walking his dog at the time, and he heard what he initially thought was a nail gun. When he realized what all the commotion was, he ran into his house and called for an ambulance. Marlene was rushed to the hospital, and she clung to life for 2 days before she passed away on May 28th. Joey told investigators that the clown's face was completely painted, so he wasn't able to recognize who they were, but he specifically remembered that they had big brown eyes. He said that the clown also seemed like a man or, a more masculine presenting person with broad shoulders and big hands. But why the hell would a clown shoot his mother in the face?
I am your worst dream come true.
Let's rewind a little bit. Marlene K. McKinnon was born on April 15th, 1950 in Mount Clemens, Michigan, to Shirley and Leonard McKinnon. Marlene was described as a kind, courteous young girl who loved spending summers on her grandpa's farm just outside of Detroit. She loved to cook and bake, and she loved to paint and sew dresses and things. From a very young age, Marlene began painting, and she was a very good artist. Her favorite thing to paint, though? Clowns. At the age of 15, Marlene became a teen mom, and she had a son that she named John. Marlene actually married the boy's father, John Aarons, and they had another son that they named Joseph. But unfortunately, their very young marriage didn't last. Now it's 1970, and a 20-year-old Marlene is now a single mom of 2 small children. 2 years later, Marlene met a handsome fella named Michael Warren. He He was 19 years old, so she was just a little bit older. Well, their romance was whirlwind, and they were very quickly married on April 27th, 1972, and then they moved to the Sunshine State, the lawless swamp, Florida. Michael's family was from there, so that made sense for them. Early on, Michael worked as a meat inspector, but then they started investing in real estate. Michael and Marlene had many rental properties, and Marlene did most of the business operations. Like, she acted as the manager. They were doing very, very, very well. So well, in fact, they were making a ton of money, and Michael was able to quit his job as a meat inspector. And then they opened up their own used car and rental business. They named the business Bargain Motors, and their dealership was like a buy here, pay here type of a place. This is actually really good for people with credit issues because there's no bank involved. There's no credit checks, official bank loans and things. The car payments are made directly to the dealership. And this also meant that if anybody missed a payment, Michael would have the cars immediately repossessed and then he would just sell them again. So in the late 80s, Michael and Marlene owned 20 total rental properties and the car dealership, and they were doing very well financially. They moved into a 6,500 square foot home in the very upscale neighborhood of Apparel Club in Wellington, Florida. Think like country club, cocktail party vibes. Michael loved horse racing, cars, and flying, and all of that exists right in their own little neighborhood. He actually liked flying so much that he ended up getting his pilot's license and got himself a little plane. Also, did I mention that the homes in the Aero Club neighborhood all had their own, airplane hangar and runway? It seemed like the Warrens had it all. Seemed. And I'm going to put on my eyebrows, and I'll be right back. The brows today? Don't want to talk about it, okay? I used something different. Disregard. Where was I? Okay, so in the spring of 1983, Michael got into some serious legal trouble at the car dealership. Customers actually accused him of tampering with the odometers on the vehicles, which is what he was doing. He was rolling back the mileage so that he could claim the cars would be more valuable and raise the selling prices, which is super illegal. He did plead guilty, and he ended up serving a whole 18 months of probation. He was able to keep the businesses, though Marlene, as I mentioned, was handling the rental properties. And I think I read someplace that all the businesses were in Marlene's name anyways. On September 23rd of 1988, Marlene's oldest son, John Arthur Aarons, was in a horrible car accident. According to the report, at 10:57 a.m., John came to the intersection of Salisbury Way and Fairgrounds Road and failed to stop. The woman that he ran into, 49-year-old Amelia Gonzalez, was taken to the hospital and then released. She was fine, but sadly, 22-year-old John perished at the scene. Well, after John's death, Marlene and Michael's marriage was never the same. They grew distant, and everything just, fell apart. And around the same time, a new face entered the picture. 27-year-old Sheila Keene worked for Michael at the car dealership. She was repossessing cars. Her husband, Richard Spud Keene, sometimes drove the tow truck as well. Well, Sheila and Spud's relationship was already pretty rocky. You can see where this is going to go. Spud was no prize. He was 20 years older than Sheila. He was a former member of the KKK, and he had a lengthy prison record himself. In January of 1990, Spud was charged with domestic violence after grabbing and threatening Sheila, and she very shortly after that moved out of their house in Loxahatchee and into an apartment that Michael was allegedly paying for. So Michael and Sheila were very close. They had an instant, invisible connection, and Michael was at Sheila's apartment so often that people thought he lived there. Everybody, including Marlene, thought they were having an affair, which they totally were. So Michael was allegedly starting to make a lot of comments around work, at the dealership. And what I mean is, he was saying things like, I'll make someone a rich man who never has to work again if they just kill Marlene. Marlene's family said that she told them that if anything ever happened to her, it was Mike. Okay, all right, we're trusting the process here. It's gonna go somewhere, I promise. Okay, so zoom back to where we started. The murder. On the very first day of the investigation into Marlene's murder, an anonymous tip was called into the West Palm Beach Police Department. Now, to this day, that person has never been identified, but it seemed to be a woman's voice, and they said, "You should look at Mike." That anonymous tip also mentioned Sheila Keene. Mike had an alibi for the day. You know, he was at the racetrack with several of his friends. Sheila said that she was at work, but could never actually verify it.
The more that investigators started to look at the couple, at Michael and Sheila, the more the evidence started to pile up, not against the husband, Michael, but against Sheila, the girlfriend.
Now, on May 30th, just 4 days after the shooting, the white LeBaron was found parked in a parking lot in front of a grocery store.
Where's your LeBaron, Freddie? Where's your LeBaron?
The LeBaron was actually traced back to a different auto business, but it had been reported missing or stolen from a local business called Payless Auto Rental. And in fact, this was a rival business to Bargain Motors. So Bargain Motors did also rent cars, but it wasn't really their main gig. However, they did put an ad in the yellow pages of the phone book. Remember those? In the middle of the ad, it says in really big letters, "Pay less."
The ad that Michael Warren took out was absolutely deceiving. If you look at the ad, it looks like an ad for Payless, and the number there is Michael Warren's number.
So whoever rented the LeBaron, when they were ready to return it, they opened the yellow pages to verify the location, and they saw the ad for Bargain Motors that said "Pay less," got confused, whatever. When they called Bargain Motors, they spoke to someone who did not correct them and instead told them to bring the car to Bargain Motors and leave the keys in it. Apparently, this was quite the scam, and Mike would allegedly trick people into returning Payless cars to Bargain Motors, then he would strip them for parts or whatever.
How many LeBarons? Are there two LeBarons? Hey,
Shut up!
Anyway, the point here is that this LeBaron that belonged to Payless Motors was used in the murder of Bargain Motors' wife, Marlene. Maybe the Payless Motors people were so mad at the Bargain Motors people that they decided to put a hit out on Marlene. Or Mike, the scam artist, scammed his way into a car that really couldn't be traced back to him and then also presented the perfect alibi. So when the car was discovered and inspected, they were hoping to find the gun inside, but no dice. What they did find were orange synthetic hairs consistent with a clown wig and several long brown human hairs. Well, this evidence was collected and preserved, but it was 1990, so DNA analysis was not robust or, existing at all. File that away for later. So police got a search warrant for Sheila's apartment, and they were hoping to find this clown suit or the gun, but again, no dice. They were able to track down the grocery store where the flowers and the balloons came from. It was a store called Publix. When they spoke to the employees at Publix, the gals in the floral department said that they remember a woman with long brown hair that came in and bought the balloons about 1.5 hours before this shooting took place. Also, the Publix was less than a mile from Sheila's apartment. Investigators were also able to track down this costume shop that this clown outfit came from. The employees at both of the shops were both shown a photo array that contained Sheila Keene, but they didn't exactly pick her out of the lineup. They said the picture might be the person, but they couldn't be 100% sure. Seems to me there might have been some kind of disguise or maybe another person? Question mark? Well, law enforcement continued to squint at Sheila and Mike, but the district attorney said that they would need more evidence to make an arrest for a murder. And while all of this is going on, Mike is still up to no good, but this time police are all over him. On October 26th of 1990, he was again arrested for odometer tampering and grand theft and racketeering. So he had been repossessing cars that he sold at his dealership, and then he was reporting them stolen so that he could make insurance claims. He actually sat in jail for a solid 2 years before he could go to trial and be convicted. He did end up doing some hard time and was released in 1997. During that time, the investigation into Marlene's murder totally stalled. Like, I'm talking ice cold. Okay, so let's fast forward to 1999. Sheila finally got a divorce from Spud. I mean, what took so long? Also, by this time, Michael was released from prison for his little stint, and can we guess what happened next? Oh yeah, Sheila Keene and Michael Warren ran off to Las Vegas and got married in April of 2002. I mean, holy shit, talk about a long game. After they got married, Sheila and Mike decided that they wanted to start fresh, you know? They moved to rural Virginia, like the mountains, Abington. They just tried to disappear. Sheila actually started going by the name Debbie.
Debbie.
They opened a fast food restaurant in Kingsport, Tennessee called the Purple Cow. It was wildly popular. They were making a ton of money. You know, the restaurant was super successful. They were financially successful. They were living in a beautiful house on a lake and acting like they just didn't have a care in the world. So, the murder case was like ice cold. But in 2014, the Palm County Sheriff's Department got a grant for unsolved murder cases, so they reopened this one. Together with a task force from the state's attorney's office and the FBI, the evidence was resubmitted for DNA profiling. You know, those hairs and all the other things that they collected. It took another 3 years for the results to come back, but remember all those hairs they found in the LeBaron? Guess who they matched? Sheila Keene! Now, some might argue that the match was like barely a match, but whatever, okay. On September 26th of 2017, Sheila Keene Warren was arrested and charged with the first-degree murder of Marlene Warren. There were many, many delays in the case, one big one being the global panini, but her case was finally scheduled to go to trial in April of 2023, with the state seeking the death penalty or at least life without parole. But a few weeks before the trial was supposed to begin, Sheila entered a plea agreement. So, 27 years after Marlene Warren was brutally murdered, Sheila Keene Warren pled guilty to second-degree murder. This plea deal was actually a complete surprise to her legal team. They were like all geared up, ready to fight everything. They thought all of the case was totally weak, blah, blah, blah. But I guess, you know, she was afraid of those hairs in the LeBaron. She was later sentenced to 12 years in prison with 6 years already served. Oh, and by the way, Mike Warren was never charged or arrested in connection with this case at all. And that is the story of Sheila Keene Warren. Again, if you're interested in any of the makeup that you saw me use in today's video, just look down in the description box. Everything is linked. Many of the things are not available anymore, so I have linked something similar. If you have a Crue Trime case that you would like to recommend to me, there is a Google Doc down in the description box. Just click on it, fill in all of the dirty details. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for hanging out today. I really appreciate it. If you want to see more videos like this one, then consider subscribing to this channel before you leave today. I upload new videos here on YouTube every week, and you can follow me on all of the other socials as well. I guess that's it for now. I will catch you next time in the next video. Bye! Surprise to her... Sorry, microphone. On October. Does that look good? I feel like it does not look good. This is not gonna work for me. I finally fixed my white balance. It's been a nightmare, a battle. Focus. Fluent area. What makeup am I gonna use? I have no idea. I'm too close to this table. There we go. Does that match? No. Not at all. Oh well, I tried.